here with Presets and Actions by Jessica G Photography, and this is part 2 of the full edit I've been doing using Lightroom and Photoshop. So first thing I want to do with this edit, normally it depends how I start. Sometimes I do the cropping first, sometimes I do skin first, but in this case I'm just going to start with cropping. So I'm going to use my tool over here and I'm going to click on Shift. And then I'm going to crop the image there. And I might bring it a little bit here. This is just what I like to do. And then I'm going to click enter, and that's already done there. Now, for these areas over here where you see my shoe, and over here, there's a couple of ways to fix them. We can either use the spot healing tool, the patch tool, the clone tool, or AI. I would say in this case, they're pretty small, so the easiest way would be to use the patch tool. So I'm going to use the patch tool. I'm just going to select around it and drag it. So pretty easy. Same thing here. And it's because they're small, pretty easy fixes that we can do that. My floor has holes in it. I can remove them. Some people don't like to see them, so I normally keep them because I like the character, but in this case, just to show you how easy it is to take them off, we don't like them. Alright, so now we have like a very clean image now. Now, after that, I'm going to use one of my actions called baby powder, and one of my most used is translucent powder, so I'm going to play that action. And one thing I want to talk about here, so when using actions, you want to make sure you have a brush to your full opacity. Oh, right now I have it set to my logo, but so set it to soft brush and make sure it's set to normal, full opacity. You can play around with the flow and opacity, that's up to you, but I like to use it as is. And then right here, make sure you have the color selected to white. So right now the layer mask is set to black, so we want to make sure the color is opposite. Now, what I see happen sometimes is that people are brushing on this right here, and that's not going to work. Nothing's going to happen here. So, and then actually if I delete that, you're going to see all the mess that I did. So, let's go back here. And right over here, before I use the brush on that layer. So no, don't click this layer. We're going to click on the layer mask and make sure it's set to white. Then we're going to brush. And I'm brushing. This is for skin tones. So this is going to kind of even out all the skin tones and in one brush, which makes it even easier. And you can brush everywhere, just kind of avoid the lips, any area that you want to keep red, with a little bit of red. So just kind of avoid those areas. So that's before and after. And you can see here, this is where I brushed, these areas here, and this is where I didn't brush. So I try to avoid those areas there. And now I'm going to adjust the opacity of this layer. So I can bring it down to say 80, for example, to where I like it. And then I'm going to merge the layers. Now, I like to do a shortcut, which is Shift Command E, and that already kind of merges the layers. But say you don't know that shortcut yet, then my actions already include a flatten action. So you can go down here and you can just click flatten image, and that's going to do it for you. So just with my actions, you want to make sure that you flatten the image every time you run an action so you don't have any issues running it. So I recommend not to play an action over an action. Just play one action, do your editing, flatten, then run the other action. So after I did that, then there's a few ways I can go about editing. I can either do, so this like skin retouching, that one will depend on your style of skin retouching. I like to use baby butter. Another way to do it would be to use Flaky Skin Be Gone and then use one of the skin retouching actions. This is Finishing Touch 2.0, or you could do frequency separation. So there's a few different ways to go about it. If you want more texture, you're probably going to want to do frequency separation. And if you want a more smooth finish, then one of the baby butters would be great. One of my favorites in Serum in Natural. And I do want to kind of show a little bit, like, for example, the baby butters are categorized depending on baby's skin tone. And there's also baby butters that are natural. So that means no skin tone alterations. So the natural is not going to affect the skin tone. But for example, if you use sugar, vanilla, honey, those are going to adjust the skin tone a little bit. So for brighter skin tones and then for darker skin tones. The same thing with the serum. And then you have skincare, and these skincare are more for maternity or adult skin. And then we have other tools over here that can help us. So I'm just going to go ahead with Serum Natural, and I'm going to play that one. Okay, so again, over here on the right side, we have our layers. And the first layer, which is Serum Natural, that's going to be the skin retouching. Then we have texture scrub. This is to use on areas that you want to bring a little bit of more sharpening, maybe more texture, and you can use that and brush it where you want. So this is not a one click. After you play the action, you brush where you want it to go. Then you have an additional no reds. So if you need extra red removal, you can use that. And skin tone, if you want to even out the skin tones a little bit more, you can use that. And rosy cheeks to bring a little bit of color to the cheeks. So first I'm going to use Serum Natural, make sure my layer mask is selected over here, my brush is set to white, and then I can brush. So you can see there. Now this one is a little bit stronger, but what I like to do is adjust the opacity. Another way I like to do it is to set it to 50% and then brush 100 where I need to, but I'm just going to stick with this one. So you can see where I'm brushing there. And I'm just gonna, I'll close it up a little bit so you can see a bit more. And again, this, how much you do, what opacity you use, that will really depend on your editing style. So I'm gonna go 50% brush opacity over here at the top to go over the eyes. I don't want to use 100% because then it's gonna look too overdone, like too airbrushed. So just make sure you bring that opacity down for these areas. And I'm gonna zoom out. So this is where you get to pick how strong you want it. I think it's a little too strong right now. So I'm gonna bring it down like maybe even more. I'll say 70%. That's pretty good. And then texture scrub. This one I'm gonna brush over here. So that's like the lips and the eyelashes, a little bit around the nose so you can see those areas I'm brushing. That's a before and after. And this is the skin before and after. Before and after. And then no reds. I might do a little bit here and there. Don't think I need too much skin tone. I'm gonna bring that to 100 brush and just brush it on the areas that are a little bit red. Then I'm gonna bring that down to 10%. Now for rosy cheeks, just gonna do a little bit here. And this one for boys, I like to do something more natural, so I'm gonna go just very low opacity, maybe like 6. And then here you can see before and after. And I do like to zoom out to see if we're looking pretty good here. So it looks pretty good to me. So I'm gonna merge the layers. So I'm gonna do Shift Command E to merge all those layers. Now for this little thing over here, I'm gonna be using the spot healing tool. Really easy, just a little dot there and just a little bit on the flaky skin. So not too much. Okay, and now that I've done that, I'm going to be doing this image. Really doesn't need a lot of editing, so I'm going to do I'm gonna be using one of these hazes. This is for the background. One of my favorite ones is Perfect Cream, so I think I'm gonna use that one. And then I like to brush sometimes if it's a little all over the baby's face, then I like to brush it. So in this case, the layer mask is set to white, so you want to make sure your brush is set to the opposite color, which is black. So you can see there where I'm brushing. It's a very subtle... Oh, I think I adjusted. I was like, what happened? Okay, so there you go. 20%, that's pretty good. Okay, so it adds like a little bit of creamy to the image. And then I do notice a little bit of purple here. So again, a couple of ways to go about it. You can either use from Finishing Touch Actions 2.0 Purples Be Gone, or you can use from Baby Butter Creamy Glow. So either of those will work. I think I'm just going to go with Purples Be Gone in this case. Make sure my brush is a little bit smaller. It's a little too big there. I'm going to brush on these areas that look a little purple. And then bring that to a more natural opacity. So 35. And then I'm going to measure my layers. And we're pretty much done with the image. So now it's all up to you and if you want to do a little bit more. So what I would do in this case, if anything, would be kind of play around with the tones and finishes. Like, for example, if I want a little bit more vibrance, I like to use Dream Glow. And that's actually very strong. So we could bring that down to, say, 20%. And that gives it a little bit more definition, but I think I'm gonna go with something subtle like 10%, and might do soft glow. Again, this one this is where you can play around with what you prefer. I'm not gonna do soft glow. I'm gonna do already did that one. Maybe Dreamy Matte. I kind of like this one. So 30%. I like that it adds a little bit more contrast. And maybe Darken Shadows. I might do that one. Actually, no, I'm not gonna do that one. I am gonna do Dodge and Burn, which is Night and Day. I'm gonna play that one. And this one is, I use this one a lot, again, with the brushes, set to white in this case. And with the night, you're gonna brush over the areas that you want to bring more shadows, more details, and kind of like painting. And then with the Dodge or Day, then you brush it over here. So right now it looks horrible because we're gonna adjust the opacity of the layer. So we're gonna bring that down, say maybe 15, maybe 10%, very subtle. And over here, 15, maybe a little bit stronger, say, actually no, 14, maybe lower. 10%. Okay, so I'm gonna show you what I did there, just before and after, so you can see how it changes the image quite a lot. So I'm gonna save that, and we're done. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more videos when it comes to editing, make sure you subscribe and leave me a comment below. Bye!